The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. We are ready to talk. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Your children will not rest until we are together again.
The Guthrie family is ready to talk and now ready to listen. So what happened to Nancy Guthrie? Her daughter Savannah's emotional plea to the person who may have answers. Plus the chilling question, is Nancy Guthrie alive? Our investigators are weighing in. And bringing back the dogs, police returning to the Guthrie property with canines. So what might that mean? Also this hour, new autopsy information in the Tepe murders, the shocking number of bullets that were fired at Dr. Spencer and his wife, Monique Tepe. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Thursday morning to you, and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some court? This is the show where we get you all warmed up and ready to go for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. What a big show we have planned for you with tremendous guests. So let's get started. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. She wasn't even 10. Melody Buzzard wasn't even 10 years old when she was allegedly murdered by her own mother. Next week will be her birthday on February the 10th. And instead of celebrating with Melody, her loved ones, except for her mom, will be at a private memorial service for her. Melody's sister is in charge of all the arrangements, and she's the one overseeing Melody's final journey in being laid to rest. It was quite a sad sight this week, my friends, for neighbors who lived by Melody's house. They saw that precious child's belongings taken out of her home. And you know, it is a real sad state of affairs when strangers are grieving more than the woman who birthed that child. Speaking of her, that animal was in court this week in California, and she's going to be back in court next week. She's facing murder charges for allegedly shooting her daughter, Melody, multiple times in the head. I am still hopeful that the state of Utah charges her there and seeks the death penalty if she's convicted. Because if Ashley Buzzard did what detectives say that she did, then there is no punishment severe enough for her. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it.
We saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime. We know she didn't just walk out of there. She did not leave on her own. Nancy Guthrie is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia related. She is as sharp as a tack, and we're asking the community's help.
Now for your top story this morning, Today Show anchor and Court TV alum Savannah Guthrie pleading for her life. On Instagram, Guthrie and her two siblings posted a video urging their mom be brought home safely. Savannah says that she heard about ransom letters in the media.
We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
Oh, this video is so heartbreaking, isn't it? The mystery of Nancy's disappearance is growing this morning. Was she kidnapped, or did something worse happen to her? The Pima County Sheriff's Office is going to be providing an update to the media later today at 1 p.m. and Court TV will be covering it. In the meantime, let's talk about what we know so far. I'm going to bring in my guest in the studio with me, high-profile attorney Noah Pines, and the private investigator who famously worked the Natalie Holloway case, T.J. Ward. Good morning to you both. T.J., I'll start with you. What do the facts so far indicate to you about what happened to Nancy Guthrie?
Well, some of the facts that they already know is that the cameras were destroyed that they went into, and there's blood, and the DNA they're trying to get together and find out whose blood it is or what it is. If you'll notice, they brought a helicopter in also. They were searching the area in the back of the house to see if there was any evidence whatsoever in that area that may be footprints or trees torn down or something. They know they came in possibly through the back door and they went out through the front. They need to look and see if anybody had seen any vehicles that early in the morning, or one way in, one way out, or whatever, and try to identify who may have taken her.
Right. Sheriff's Office said they are using license plate readers, asking neighbors to offer up their Ring camera video if they have it. That video yesterday, so sad what Savannah put up on her Instagram last night. Noah, what did you think about the urging of the captors to reach out to her to talk?
You know, you always hear they need proof of life, and the question is, was the Instagram video at the direction of law enforcement, or is it something she did on her own? You know, people are so desperate to have that information, and I can understand not listening to law enforcement, but oftentimes they are, you know, abiding by what the law enforcement thinks is the best thing to find out. I mean, to kidnap and capture somebody these days and ask for a ransom, not that it was ever a good idea, but with all the electronic surveillance going on in the world, it seems unlikely that the people with this ransom note are actually the people who took her.
Right, Noah. And TJ, these ransom notes, do they sound legit to you?
Well, I think looking at the ransom note, the FBI is now involved, which is great, and you won't hear any evidence from the FBI. That's just their protocol. But I think they'll take that ransom note and they'll look through it and they'll look for certain words and all that were said in the ransom note and try to utilize that and to see if they can see if the ransom note is something that's unique and part of this, or who may be part of writing this note.
We have a clip from the sheriff where he said at one of the briefings that he does not believe that there is any active threat to the public. Let's take a look at that moment.
No, I don't think there's an active threat, but I hate to say that because, you know, we're going to canvass that neighborhood, and maybe there's a prowler been seen around. There's a lot of work still to do. We don't have any indication that that the public is in danger.
TJ, back to you on this. What do you think about him saying that?
Well, I just think he's being conservative to the fact of the investigation and not putting too much information out in the public for other people that may be wanting to utilize this or utilize part of this investigation. There are people that will try to get involved with this case, and I think them saying just exactly what they need to say to let the public know, and hopefully that somebody out there will give them good information in regards to something that may have happened to her.
It seems targeted, doesn't it?
Yes,
very targeted.
Yes.
Noah, let me ask you this. The photos of the blood at the house that we have seen indicate something bad happened. Somebody got injured in some kind of way. Does that make you think that this was not necessarily a kidnapping?
Yeah, I think the blood probably shows that maybe she just didn't wander off on her own, which a lot of people think, all right, someone's, you know, in their 80s, maybe they just wandered off on their own, and it's giving law enforcement a clue that something nefarious happened. You know, that question of should we be concerned is always kind of like a gotcha question, I think, for these law enforcement officers, because, you know, they want to make sure the public feels safe, but of course, you know, an alleged crime happened. So the reality is they need to focus on trying to figure out what happened to her.
Right. I hope this wasn't a homicide. You know, when I see that blood, that's what concerns me the most, is that we know that We know obviously she was kidnapped, but beyond that, did something happen in the process? Was there an assault that was so bad that she's suffering right now from an injury? Is the injury something that's non-recoverable? You know, tell me, TJ, what do you think when you see these droplets outside her?
Well, the blood may be from a struggle. Maybe it's from the perpetrators, and they'll be able to, with DNA, to ID somebody. But the mere fact that, you know, she was on medication and she could only walk about 50 feet on her own. So how did they move her? How many people were involved to put her in a vehicle or wherever they took her? So all that needs to be taken in consideration. I think the smashed cameras that the FBI is now dealing with the cameras and all to see if there's any evidence in there that they may locate, be able to ID somebody in those cameras that may be there before they were destroyed.
Right. The cameras around the house, for anybody who may not have heard this, all smashed, removed, which is really upsetting. Let's take a look at the sheriff who came on the Today Show. He's the sheriff in Pima County, went on the Today Show and gave an update, says he believes Nancy is alive.
We have nothing else to go on but the belief that she is here. She's present, she's alive, and we want to save her.
I know they do, and I know we all want to believe that. Noah, realistically, this is just a sad, harsh reality. We know that she has to daily dose herself with a medication in order to stay alive, and it was made known that that medication is not with her, unfortunately. At what point do you think we might see a shift in the investigation from missing person to perhaps a homicide investigation?
Obviously, the longer it goes on, you know, that's the issue. And you know, this could have been a burglary gone bad. That happens. I mean, you know that a bunch of celebrities or sports people, music people, they get targeted, their homes get targeted when they're on tour, when they're out. You know, this could have been one of those concerted effort burglary rings where they're going in and they didn't expect her to be there, and then, of course, she's there, and then everything goes bad. And now they don't know what to do and they're panicking. Possibility.
Right. TJ, thoughts on that? Burglary gone wrong?
There's a possibility. If you remember, law enforcement went back up there a second time and took dogs out there. So the dogs were out there trying to find any additional information that they may have missed in the course of the original investigation of going out there. But I really think it's a good thing now that the FBI has now gotten involved, because the tools the FBI have are a little more sophisticated than probably the county sheriff's office. So I believe that with them being involved in it and now other law enforcement agencies all getting involved, I think there may be some evidence that may come up that they may be able to use and locate where she may be, or if there is a ransom now for money to try to locate who they are and where they are.
Right. I'm certainly glad the FBI is involved, as I know you both are, especially because we don't even know if she's in Arizona. We're presuming, but we know that a lot of time passed. You know, she was last seen around 9:45 p.m. Saturday night. Missed church, and we know the family looked around the house for about an hour, we're told, looking for her, and then placed the 911 call about noon on Sunday. So that was a lot of time.
5 days.
Yeah, to drive somewhere, and now we're 5 days in, exactly, day 5. Great conversation with you both. TJ Ward, Noah Pines, thank you very much, and we're going to continue the conversation as the search for Nancy Guthrie rolls on. TJ mentioned a couple moments ago how deputies went back and they brought in the dogs. We've got a canine expert joining us next, plus the autopsy results. Back in Ohio for Dr. Spencer and Monique Tepe. Wait till you hear how many times they were shot.
They knocked on the front door and back door multiple times and there was no answer.
Yeah, no answer. I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell. But we can't get in. At this point, I don't know if I need to break the door in or just get in the house or what.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Look, I know you guys are doing your job, and you're doing a great job, but we have a job to do too, and I really need to back away from this for a while, and we'll see you, unless something breaks, we'll see you Thursday morning. PIO will give you a time frame, I'm guessing somewhere around 11:30.
That's it.
Welcome back. We're entering day 5 of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Deputies with the Pima County Sheriff's Department in Arizona back at the 84-year-old's home on Wednesday. They brought in canines. Sheriff Chris Nanos previously said that investigators were finished processing the home as a crime scene. According to Fox News, several members of law enforcement also visited the home of Savannah's sister, Annie. Her home is just a few miles away from Nancy's home in the Catalina foothills. And in a recent statement, the sheriff continues to say, quote, no suspect or person of interest have been named in the case, and added that, quote, the sharing of unverified accusations or false information is irresponsible. So what might have investigators missed that they needed to go back? Or what new information did they learn? Let's bring in our guests. K-9 expert, retired police lieutenant Mike Gould is here, and so is retired NYPD detective Tom Smith. Good morning to you both. Lieutenant, I'll begin with you. They're bringing back the dogs. Tell us why you think that is.
Yeah, so the reason that is his dog is the greatest technology we have today that can recover evidence. It's not necessarily a body, but it's almost anything that was touched by humans involved. It could be from the suspect or could be from the victim. So, you know, and I never like to criticize, nobody likes to second guess law enforcement. This was dumped in their lap. This is not a big police department. This chief of police is overwhelmed. This is the first and last, hopefully, time he's going to have to deal with something like this in his career. So they closed down the crime scene, I think, a little prematurely. They got some more information, intelligence, and they went back. The dog should have been there from day one, scouring the outside perimeter of the house. You know, this is a perfect environment for a dog, the vegetation. It's a hunting ground for dogs. So dogs are the best technology in detecting odor that we have today. Nothing can duplicate that.
Yes, and let me ask you particularly, Lieutenant, about trailing dogs that follow the scents, different, as you know, from the tracking dogs who do some of that, but you know, the ones that are brought in sometimes to find a missing person. A lot of times with elderly people, we see these kinds of dogs. Usually they're bloodhounds or something along those lines. Tell me, do you think a dog like that could potentially find Nancy Guthrie?
Well, that is, of course, presumably if she's in the air and she left on foot. If she was taken in a car, that's highly unlikely. But they can track to the last place that the person was. So that could, and again, now the scene is contaminated, so it's a little bit, maybe a little bit too late for that. But you know, when I was involved in running the canine unit, I would have canines in almost any serious crime. They were just there to search for evidence, not any specific person, not the, and so yeah, any dog would if she was taken out of that. So this search should have started about around the perimeter of the house and made concentric circles outwards. This is a vast area. But if the victim was put in a car, obviously the dog would have no value at that point.
I really appreciate that insight, Lieutenant. Thank you. Detective Smith, let me go to you, please. Your thoughts on the search that not only took place at Nancy Guthrie's home, but also we know that detectives went to Annie Guthrie, her daughter's home, yesterday as well, according to reporting from Fox News and other outlets. I saw it there as well. Your thoughts on them going there? What would be the utility in that?
Well, you got to remember, Julie, this is a fluid investigation and very complex. So they're going to continue to just get information. This might have just been a tip from someone. Hey, make sure you look at this or you missed this. You know, that's the response that I thought it was, that something came in and someone got some new information about each residence. And like anything, they went out and checked it out in a full blast assault on it, which they should have done. And Mike said, canines are the best. You know, they can do things that we can't, that humans can't. So for them to show up in the force that they did leads me to believe that something came in, either a tip or something else was found out in some part of this investigation that led them back to the scene.
Detective, your thoughts on how the sheriff publicly said, we got everything at the house, but we know that, there wasn't a cleaning crew that came in because that blood was still there. Members of the media got pictures of the blood from going close to the door. Do you think this is all being done properly? We know they went back yesterday. Your thoughts on any ways this could be done better if you see them?
Yeah, you know what? This isn't the typical case. So, smaller departments don't handle this. They're not the NYPD. They're not the LAPD. So you have to give them a little grace in what they're dealing with and give them a little time to figure out what things are and put them in categories of importance and leads and so forth. Do I want a little bit more information from them and a little bit clarity to things? I would, because here's what happens. When you don't give even just the basic information of an investigation, that's where rumors start. That's where conspiracy theories start, and things can get really out of control, which will hamper the investigation, because then you start to get leads that don't make any sense, and detectives have to follow every lead, so they're getting bogged down with stuff that isn't relevant when you don't give a certain line of information to the public.
That's a great point, Detective. Thank you. And we have a clip of Annie Guthrie in that Instagram video that Savannah posted. Let's watch.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom.
It was so painful watching that. Lieutenant, let me go to you. The fact that this video was put up last night, I think it was around 8 p.m., word started spreading about it, Eastern time, that is. What do you think the utility of this is? And do you think this was something the family did on their own, or do you think it might be something that law enforcement requested of them?
Yeah, Julie, no, it's definitely requested and scripted and choreographed. The question is, for what reason? Are they talking specifically to somebody they may feel is a suspect, and they said, we want to talk to you? Or is it just, are they weeding this out? Because when these occur, every lunatic in the world wants to exploit this, unfortunately, for money. If your dog runs away, people will start hitting you up on Instagram and so forth, trying to get reward money from you. So unfortunately, so the question is, who are they discussing? Was this specifically directed at somebody they may feel is holding somebody hostage or for ransom? Or is this they want to just get rid of a couple of these lunatics that are out there and they want to get some evidence that people, because these two things are going on at once, right? There's plenty of people exploiting this, and there's also a true suspect out there, which may very well be a family member. I don't think this is going to be an absolute stranger. I don't think it's necessarily a family member, but there's so many possibilities to this. Was this an interrupted crime? There's too many possibilities. She is not a typical kidnap victim. An 84-year-old woman is not usually the victim of an intentional kidnapping. So there's a lot of moving parts. I think we're going to get a lot of clarity at the news conference. It's going to be more concise. They're going to speak to what they can and not talk about certain things that'll jeopardize the case.
Yeah, Lieutenant, you're exactly right. Great insight from you and Detective Smith, as always. Thank you both kindly. Still ahead on opening statements, we have more coverage of the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer.
What can we expect from the sheriff today when they hold their press conference? We'll talk about that. Plus, when we come back, we're spotlighting the brutal murders of Dr. Spencer and Monique Tepe. We'll share what the autopsy results are revealing.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
There's a body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just did a wellness check. We just came here, and he appears dead.
Okay.
There's blood. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, and there's blood. I can't get closer to see more than that.
Okay, so you can tell he's obviously not breathing or anything?
Yeah.
Is it like, does he look like...
It doesn't puddle, but I can't look.
Okay, all right, I understand. Okay.
My heavens. In our spotlight this morning, we're sharing the new autopsy results that show just how many times Dr. Spencer and his wife Monique Tepe were shot, allegedly by her ex-husband. And here's some new video of the suspect. This is 39-year-old vascular surgeon, Dr. Michael McKee. Now, he's defendant Michael McKee. He was taken into custody for some questioning. You see him walking casually through the police station moments ago, and when he was walking there, he was not restrained. Well, now there's some new documents revealing his ex-wife, Monique, was shot 9 times, including once in her face, 3 times in her chest. She also had an injury on her leg. Her husband, Dr. Spencer Tepe, was shot 7 times, including once to his head. Their children and their dog were left unharmed, and police have said that they found weapons in McKee's home.
We can also say that multiple weapons were taken from the property of McKee, and there's a preliminary link from our NIBIN to one of the weapons that ties it to the homicides.
Police say that a silencer was used, and they only found 3 spent rounds at the crime scene. You might remember us reporting this. So if they only found 3 spent casings, did the shooter clean up or take the time to reload in the process of firing all those shots? Let's talk about it. Let's bring back in Noah Pines and Detective Tom Smith. Noah, the number of shots is chilling. What did you think when you heard that?
As a former prosecutor and someone who handled these cases, I've actually had cases where people have reloaded and kept shooting. It's anger. It is not just, I'm going to kill this person. It's something deep inside that wants you to keep shooting and shooting and shooting. I've had a case where somebody shot him, emptied it, stepped over him, reloaded, and just emptied a whole nother clip into him. And it was just anger. Anger.
Oh, it's so disturbing.
And personal.
Right. We knew from the outset this was very personal. Detective Smith, I remember you using that word on this show when they were looking for the suspect and we didn't know who was going to be brought in. And tell me, now that you know more about the number of shots, what do you think about those casings? 3 left behind. Is it obvious? Did somebody clean up?
Well, first of all, Noah's exactly right. This was rage. This was a message that he wanted to send to them of his anger that he had with both of them. But as far as the crime scene goes, I think he probably, cleaned up as best he could. And maybe those 3 rounds were in a location he couldn't get to, maybe under a body or under the bed that he didn't want to, spend any more time at the location to gather. But again, it just shows the cold-heartedness and just monster-like attitude and thought that he perpetrated on them in the amount of rounds and where the rounds were fired. Anywhere near the face or head is a clear message that he wanted to send.
Ooh, it's chilling, Detective. We don't know the exact weapon that law enforcement have sent to the crime lab. We know they said 1 is linked, but they haven't been specific about it. We just know those spent rounds are 9mm rounds. Tom, do you think that this was a situation of reloading?
It's hard to say. It depends on, maybe the evidence collection that they had in the house. How many magazines were actually found at the location? They didn't get into that. All they spoke about were the weapons. So that's going to be interesting to see if he did reload. And no one knows this as the prosecution. That's going to be a part of it. but not a, real important prosecutional part, I think, when it comes to it. He did what he did with the amount of rounds that he did. If they find different magazines, that may lead to, just another part of his rage when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm. Right. Noah, back to the prosecution with something like this. Hopefully a very seasoned domestic violence prosecutor will be on it. Will you speak to that, please? The importance of having a lawyer who understands that post-separation abuse can happen years later to somebody who was in a cycle of violence with an intimate partner.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're presenting a case to a jury where the defendant's a doctor, right? He saves lives. He helps people live. He's a upstanding member of the community, and it would seem so far out of character. You typically would have somebody come in and explain to the jury, although, sometimes now the judges are keeping that out because there's not as much science behind it as people think. But the cycle of domestic violence and whether there was control issues, anger, you never have to prove motive, but every jury wants to know what the motive is. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're going to talk about Cronenberger later, and people still want to know what that motive is, right? People want to know what the motive is, and that domestic violence can be that link.
Mm-hmm, definitely. One of the things I think still so troubling for a lot of people, Detective, I know we've talked about this, how the perpetrator got into the home. If we can take away any lesson from this, if there's anything we can all learn and help ourselves, our family, our loved ones stay safer, thinking about a crime like this, what would you say, Detective, are some safety measures we can all take for our home personal security?
Yeah, always be aware of your surroundings and don't take anything for granted. The concept of my neighborhood safe, that's over. You have to be prepared for absolutely anything. And you have to make sure, just the simple things, your doors are locked, get deadbolts on your doors, make sure your windows are locked, alarm systems, anything you can do to prevent something like this and just keep yourself safe. A lot of it is common sense, but sometimes you have to go even further than that to make sure you're safe. And not only taking the same route home, from where you're going, take a different route home. Don't stick to a pattern of your life. Every once in a while, change it up. So in the event, someone has a background like this, they don't get locked into one particular part of your life.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice, Detective. Thank you. Let's listen to Rob Misley talking about the children.
Don't know how to tell a 4-year-old that they're never going to see their mommy or daddy again. And it's, how do you? And how does the 4-year-old understand, right? They have to grow as a person and develop that understanding of what death is, and you never truly understand it. But right now, it's just like, mommy and daddy are in heaven. Well,
oh my gosh, what a task to explain to those children what occurred. Noah, your thoughts on the 4-year-old? We know there's a baby, at 1 who hopefully will not have any memories of this at all, but the 4-year-old might. What do you think?
Well, one, let's hope that obviously the family does what they need to do to take care of these children, and most importantly, get them the professional help that they need. Whenever anyone asks me what to do, I'm like, go talk to the professional. And the professional, the psychiatrists or psychologists or counselors, they're the people who will come up with the best game plan for how to deal with a 4-year-old and what that 4-year-old may or may not remember.
Yeah. Let's hope that they're getting all the help they need. We know that they're loved, deeply loved, wonderful family that's taking care of those kids. And from what we've heard, this couple was deeply loved and admired. And this is just so heartbreaking. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to their family, their friends. We're going to keep their memories alive here on Opening Statements, as we always like to remember the victims. Noah and Tom, thank you. Stand by. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we'll take you back to Arizona. All eyes are there as Savannah Guthrie's mom is still missing this morning, and we expect an update from the sheriff today.
We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
We saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime. We know she didn't just walk out of there. She did not leave on her own. Nancy Guthrie is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia related. She is as sharp as a tack, and we're asking the community's help.
Now, for what's tipping the scales of justice, investigators are expected to update the public on Nancy Guthrie's disappearance today. The 84-year-old was taken against her will over the weekend. Last seen on Saturday, reported missing Sunday around noon after she didn't show up for church. Police say there were signs of forced entry and several personal items, including Nancy's cell phone, wallet, and other things still at the house. As we wait for an update from the Pima County Sheriff, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings are speaking out, putting in a very emotional video up on Instagram for her mom's safe return.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
That's so heartbreaking watching that. So what might the sheriff say at the press conference today? Do you think we'll have an update? Let's bring in Noah Pines and Detective Tom Smith and talk some more. Noah, tell me what you're expecting today in that press conference.
Well, I mean, Detective Smith can probably answer this better just because he's been on that side of what is shared, you know, and I think when these press conferences happen, there's a fine line between sharing some information without jeopardizing the investigation, without putting things out there that are going to cause conspiracy theories. I mean, I find it interesting, Savannah's words, like, we are ready to listen, which, you know, if that's scripted, which I think it is, it almost sounds like they know who they're talking to. It's like, we are ready to listen to you, which is really not like, what do you want, but more, we're ready to hear what you have to say, which is a little strange to me. But again, Detective Smith is way more experienced in this area than I am.
It's all good. You know, picking up on those words, I appreciate your reaction, Noah. And Detective, would love for you to weigh in on this. Do you think that this was something that law enforcement is behind, that there's some utility in this, some reason this video was done last night?
Yeah, this is a strategy, and Noah's completely right. That was the one thing in that whole statement that jumped out at me, is we're ready to listen, which means, as Noah said, they're talking to someone they may know, not maybe personally, but there might be information out there that we don't know. Listen, law enforcement is going to hold this really tight because of the sensitivity of it. When you're dealing with a kidnapping, you can't put too much information out there that might jeopardize a negotiation or something that's leading down the road of a ransom deal or something like that. So I don't know what's going to come about in this press conference at 4, because if it is an ongoing negotiation with a possible kidnapper, we're not going to get a lot, and for good reason. You know, you don't want to throw anything out there that they get spooked about, or their identity gets known, you know, they're going to play it a certain way. And you know what? I look back to the DC sniper case, where the captors were playing games with law enforcement and putting out certain messages that press conferences were mentioning. You know, so I think about that as well, and not knowing exactly what they know right now.
Right. You know, appreciate that, Detective. Tell me, did it strike you at all as odd when this first broke and it was very apparent she was kidnapped, that we weren't hearing something from Savannah Guthrie then, being in a position of power, having fame, presumably having a lot of wealth? If, let's say, this was really, we don't know who's out there, might we have seen her say, well, let me offer a reward, you know, $1 million for whomever comes forward with my mom? That silence, I'm just wondering, this, you know, omission, whatever you want to call it now at nearly day 5 is when we're hearing this. I'm curious if that struck you as odd too.
Not really. I think it was a good move, because you don't want an emotional plea. You want to take a couple of days to let the investigation kind of run its course, and then have a specific time when a statement's going to get made. You know, she could have said something that really said this in a bad way, because it's so brand new and it's raw, and her emotions are probably all over the place. So you don't want to make a statement just based on that. You want to let some information come about. And again, we don't know the relationship, why this took place now. Was it law enforcement's idea? Did law enforcement and Savannah come up with the wording? You know, so we're not, you know, too sure right now how that came about, but I'm going to guess it was a combination of both. And I think the timing is okay, because you have to let the investigation happen and kind of calm down a little bit. Although she's still emotional, it would have been worse a day or two afterwards.
Yeah, that's really helpful insight. You know, what you said just now about the wording. Noah, you know, back to you on this one. You and I talk all the time about trial advocacy, and we were just talking this morning about how you never want to read an opening statement, for example. You want to just speak to the jury. And we know Savannah Guthrie's a great speaker. Right. She's a great ad-libber. She doesn't need to be tied to any piece of paper for any reason, wondering if it's strategic, per Tom's point, you know, saying how, you know, wonder if this wording was specifically meant for a reason. Did you think that too when you were watching?
100%. I mean, she could have a teleprompter in front of her if she wanted to and look directly into the camera. So it was, purposeful is the word I would pick.
We're going to continue analyzing all aspects of this case throughout the day here on Court TV. You both have given us excellent insight this morning. Noah Pines, Detective Tom Smith, thank you both so much. And thank you at home for being with us. If you like this morning's episode, you can watch it again. Just go to courttv.com, click on the Red Shows tab. We put the episodes up for you every morning. 8 a.m. Eastern is when we're here, getting you all ready for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on courttv.com.